Welcome to Scoop World Order. A little bit early today on a Friday. Head to the wrestling match in a little bit. Go Bucks. Jack Sawyer is back. Lathan Rantham is back. A lot of these guys are coming back from that 21 class. We're going to break all that down. Transfer portal news, a lot of buzz. Staff changes coming. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on. So we appreciate you guys, as always, kicking it with us. If you guys enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe. Also, click the little alert bell. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Talk a little bit about who you're most excited to see back in a Buckeye uniform. Is it Jack Sawyer? Is it potentially Denzel Burke, Trey Henderson, Ty Leak? There's a lot of good guys coming back, and I think they're ready for that last ride. You have to understand this 21 class is exceptionally tight. They talk a lot, and they want to get a crack against Michigan at home to go get those gold pants. So with that being said, I'm bringing my good friend at Nevada back. Nevada, Jack Sawyer announces today. There's a lot of spacing between every announcement because I think these guys like to be a little bit dramatic. Denzel Burke refuted that he was coming back, but I think that a lot of these kids tried to drag it out to the end for NIL negotiation leverage. I've heard what some of these guys have asked for. One of our players asked for $4 million to come back. It kind of got laughed at, but it'll be interesting to see who actually comes back and who doesn't. But Jack Sawyer's back. Lathan Ransom's back. I think we've got a big wave of guys coming back. Your thoughts on what we've gotten out of the early entrant portal, so to speak, thus far?
Well, I think we've been able to put to rest I think there was a narrative, a hopeful narrative coming out of, from Michigan and the rest of the college football world that Ohio was somehow broken, that the Buckeyes had been, snapped, that Ryan Day had lost the room, the culture was bad, everybody was leaving. Look at Ohio State. They lost Julian Fleming. They lost Amari Arbor. I mean, and when you see guys like this come back, it just flies in the face of that. And look at we're talking. We've already hit Ty Leak, Lathan, Jack Sawyer. That's just there is 3 starters on the 2024 defense that we may or may not have been able to count on in terms of coming back at some point in time in the season. So, look, it's really laying the foundation for a great 2024 for the Buckeyes on both sides of the ball, but specifically on the defense is going to be absolutely filthy in 2024. And like I said, even though Jack and Lathan were expected, I just could not be more excited about them coming back because those are just huge foundational pieces.
Yeah, I think you get Jack and Tyler up front. You get Ty Hamilton back. Kenyatta Jackson just got an NIL deal that's going to lock him in here. There's a little bit of skepticism that he would hit the portal, but he's locked in now that he got an NIL deal. So, JT Tuimoloau is the guy who's kind of on the fence. Denzel Burke is on the fence. Donnie Jackson's on the fence. But a lot of these guys are starting to sway towards coming back because they didn't get great NFL grades. And Brian Schottenstein and the Foundation are stepping up and paying these guys. So where 1870 society has dropped the ball, they've been, basically worthless. The Foundation is coming in and stepping in. They've raised significantly more money. Ryan Day reached out to them, say, "Hey, we need your help to help support the roster, keep these guys in college." Initially, they were moved to the basketball realm, but they're coming back into football strong just because they've got much deeper pockets than 1870 does. 1870 is kind of in hot water because 11 Warriors, who owns 1870, shredded Ryan Day. They shredded Brian Hartline. The staff is not happy about that. The athletic department's not happy about that. So, again, credit to the Foundation for stepping up and keeping some of these guys in place because that's what it takes in modern college football. These guys need to be compensated. These kids want to go live their dreams in the NFL, but if you can give them a little something to stay in college for another year, it's not all that bad. And some of these guys are getting substantial checks to stay for another year. And again, that makes our team much more competitive. I think we're going to be a top 3 team coming back easily. The new quarterback, Will Howard, I think is a superstar. You get the defense to where it needs to be. If we get this offense to where it should be, and the defense can maintain some semblance of what it was this past year, we're a top 3 team. We're making the playoffs. This was kind of an anomaly year, so to speak, because of the 4-team playoff. Kyle McCord takes off. If Kyle plays in this bowl game, we win going away versus Missouri. So this will never happen again. There will never be a time where Ohio State, unless the wheels fall off the wagon and we're firing and getting a new head coach, like we'll be one of the top 12 teams in the country. We'll make the playoffs and we'll let the chips fall where they may. But getting Will Howard, getting Jack Sawyer, Blathan Ransom, potentially Denzel Burke, JT2 Malolo, Donnie Jackson, buckle up. Join BuckeyesScoop.com. Get a subscription now because I'm telling you, this is about to be a massive year for Ohio State football. We have a quarterback who's a difference maker. We did not have that this past year. Our defense will be nasty. Our defense will be much better than it was last year. And this past year, we were top 5 defense in the country. But we're going to have all of our main guys back. And I'm just ultra excited to see this. Super chats are kind of pouring in. If you guys have a question, send us a super chat. Appreciate you guys tuning in as always. This is a little bit earlier than normal. I'm heading to the wrestling match tonight. It'll be on Big Ten Network. So make sure you support Tom Ryan and the wrestling team. I am one of their guests tonight. So super excited. I'll be rocking Buckeye Scoop in the first row. So make sure you get a good laugh out of seeing me looking like a McGill gorilla. Why not today? Thanks to the 5. Do you think the Ohio State Michigan game will lose value over the coming years now that it is a 12-team playoff? You can lose and still get in the playoffs. Yes, it'll absolutely lose value. You still have to win the game, but I think it'll be much more like the basketball season where, if we lose to Michigan, it's kind of a ho-hum type thing as opposed to life and death like it was back in the old days. Because in the old days, like when I played, if you lost to Michigan, that meant you weren't going to the Rose Bowl, you weren't going to the BCS championship. Your dreams kind of died on the vine that day. But now with 12 teams, I can see both of them making it. I can see them both playing in the Big Ten championship the next week. There's a lot of variance to it. And again, I try to be honest. I mean, I try to be exceptionally honest with you guys, even sometimes I don't want to be, but the game will mean less this year. Just because you potentially could be seeing Michigan again in the championship game. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, there's a trade-off. We have a 12-team playoffs, so it's going to involve more teams, more different scenarios. The back postseason for college football just got better, but the regular season did get diminished, and there's going to be a trade-off there. The Ohio State Michigan game will always be meaningful, but will it be as meaningful? No, by definition, it won't be. But I know I'll be there this year watching the Ohio State Michigan game. And do I want to see us beat Michigan? Yeah, I want to see us beat Michigan. So it sure means a lot to me, and I'm sure it means a lot to you. So it's going to be up to everybody individually about how much it diminishes it, but it's going to diminish it a bit. But maybe this opens the door, as Kirk said, more shots at Michigan. As far as I'm concerned, that's always great. I'll beat them 1 week in Columbus, then let's beat them the next week in Indianapolis, and then let's see them in the 12-team playoff and beat them again. I mean, I'll take that all day long, and let's do it. We'll play them anytime, anywhere, and we're going to be beating them. And in 2024, they're not going to want any piece of us because we're going to be very, very talented in 2024.
Yeah, and it's like I used to tell my teammates back in the olden days, I was like, look, if you're scared, buy a dog. Because if you're scared to play Michigan a second time, go buy a dog. Don't be scared of anything. Because I think it'll be more like the Browns Steelers. Again, a lot of you guys are Browns fans, Bengals fans, whatever. Browns Steelers is the best rivalry in the NFL. They hate each other. There's a lot of bad blood there. But, if you lose them in week 1 or week 2, you see them again week 14. If you see them again in the playoffs, it's a different breed. So again, I think that I've got 6 pairs of gold pants. I've beaten Michigan 6 times. I have 6 of their pelts on my wall, but I traded off for a national championship. So I never got the big ring. And again, I think that it's important to beat Michigan. It's very important, but making the playoffs is much more important than beating Michigan at this point because, and again, you can call me a homer, call me delusional, whatever, but you want to win the big ring. Because again, people don't buy t-shirts for beating Michigan. They buy t-shirts when you win the national championship. We beat Michigan in 06, 07, 05. We didn't have a team reunion for any of those teams. The only teams in the last 20 years that have had reunions, the 02 team, the 14 team, they'll have a 10-year this year. Then the 70 team, the 68 team. So if you don't win the big ring, it doesn't matter at Ohio State, which is, again, that's why I love Ohio State. It's not good enough just to win the Big Ten or whatever and represent. Like, you have to go win the big ring. And that's what a lot of these guys want to do. Like, I talked to a lot of these kids. I'll talk to a lot of these coaches, and the big ring is what really matters around Columbus, Ohio. And I hope that never changes. Do not lower the standard. The standard is the standard. Pooh Beard 12, appreciate you, brother. Thanks for the deuce. Any updates on coaching staff moves? A lot of rumbling. Again, I think Ryan Day, his number one priority in the entire offseason is to hire an OC. And I think that when you hire a high powered offensive coordinator, I think something you have to promise him is he can make staff adjustments. So a lot of like when Luke Fickell hired his offensive coordinator at Wisconsin, he wanted to bring his offensive line coach. So guess who was the new line coach? The guy that he wanted. So I think that something Football Scoop went out with today that we've had for a little while is that, if you're bringing an OC, I think everybody is up for, potential firing, except for Brian Hartline. Brian Hartline is pretty much locked in stone just because of his recruiting, just because of getting JJ Smith here. But any of those other guys should be kind of nervous because if you bring in an OC and you say, hey, I want to get this ultra powerful offensive coordinator who I believe in his system, but hand him the play sheet. Well, again, like Bill Parcells said, you can't expect you to be the chef and you can't go shop for the groceries. Well, if you're hiring a big time offensive coordinator, he's going to want a couple of his guys in the room that he trusts. And I think that's going to be a process Ryan's going to go through where all of a sudden it's like Ryan can't have all of his guys and his lieutenants and his soldiers in the room. If he's going to hand that offensive room over to an OC that he truly trusts, that guy has to have the autonomy to hire one or two of his guys, which means, you could fire Justin Fry, you could fire Tony Alford, you could fire Keenan Bailey, Corey Dennis, whoever. Brian Hartline pretty much is etched in stone just because of his recruiting and how good that room is. But the rest of those guys, if some guy's married to an offensive line coach, it might mean the end of Justin Fry. So again, I think that's a real thing. Again, like it depends on how big of a name it is, how much autonomy you want to give him. But Ryan, I really think Ryan wants to divorce himself from running the offensive room. I think he wants to actually become a head coach and be able to manage the game and do it like Urban Meyer did and have guys whatever. Like when we had Ed Warner running the show, after Tom Herman left, a big reason why we hired Tim Beck is because they had chemistry where they coached together at Kansas or wherever, and they knew each other, so there'd be some symmetry there, and that's why Tim Beck got the job. So I think that there's something to that. I'm not saying it's the be all end all, but I think that that's what a lot of these head coaches want is they want, if I'm going to hand this room over, you better have it on tilt and on point, and guys better know what to expect and that type of deal. And I think when you're a coordinator that's high powered, you want to be able to hire one or two of your guys that and you trust and they're known commodities, as opposed to being a new coordinator and walking into a room with Brian Hartline and Keenan Bailey and Tony Alford and whoever, Justin Fry, and you have to teach them all your language. Like it's better when a couple of those guys already know your language and they can assimilate into what you're trying to do. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, well, look, I just think this is just part of the natural evolution of Ryan Day. And one of the things that I found interesting was, we've talked about the relationship between Day and Meyer, how it's kind of been interesting. There's just so many layers to that and interesting dynamics with that. Well, one of the people that Day went to, though, when he's talking about giving up this play calling was Urban Meyer and asked for his advice on that. And Meyer told him to do it. Meyer told him that this is absolutely a no-brainer, that you have to do it, Ryan, that you can still have your fingers in it, but it's the right thing to do. And I think, I won't say that pushed him over the edge in terms of that decision. I'm sure that there's a lot of other forces pushing him in that way. But as you point out, I mean, Urban Meyer. It's funny how Urban Meyer is so closely associated with offense, yet he never called plays. And I've always found that fascinating because he's while he didn't invent it, he kind of perfected and ran to great effect the whole QB run, the whole power spread, and now I think Ryan Day can kind of say to himself finally, hey, I'm not just the quarterback guy anymore. I'm not just the quarterback whisperer, the play caller. I'm really a true head football coach. Because just think about all the stuff we talked about already here in the first 15 minutes of the show. We talked about NIL deals for existing players, NIL deal for transfer players, guys going early to the pros, recruiting, J.J. Smith. And none of that has to do with play calling. None of that has to do with being a quarterback. That's all the other stuff that's going into this job that never used to be there before. So Ryan's got to focus on that. And, I think when he finds that offensive coordinator, I think you're absolutely right. I think anybody's job on the offensive side potentially is not safe because he's going to want to bring in somebody to be like an apostle to kind of sing the praises of what they're doing. And that probably could mean a couple other heads can roll.
Yeah, and you have to remember, like a lot of these changes, like with the Football Coaches Association, that's the biggest conference of the year for coaches. They all kind of mingle together. They get together. It's usually it's a big wheeling and dealing contest. Larry Johnson, when Mike Vrabel went to the league, and there was an open D line spot, like Larry Johnson interviewed with Urban Meyer at the Football Coaches Association meeting. That's coming up. I don't think that they're going to do any changes before that happens. I think that something that Ryan will at least give these guys is the opportunity to give the illusion that they still coach for Ohio State and do their interviews, wearing an Ohio State polo, an Ohio State shirt. And again, I think that, excuse me, as silly as that sounds, I think that it carries more weight when you're an active coach working on a staff, looking for a job. It's a lot easier just in life and in coaching. If you have a job, it's a lot easier to get a job. If you don't have a job, you're unemployed, you're fired. I think there's like a little bit of a scarlet letter, a stigma around you. So I think Ryan's going to give these guys a chance to go get a job at the convention. The 2 to 4 guys he's going to get rid of. So it'll be really interesting to see what comes out of this. And I think that he, in Ryan's perfect universe, he'd like to have the coaching staff in place by next Wednesday. The kids report Tuesday, the mid-year guys, and we have 20-ish mid-year guys coming in that are high school kids. Portal guys are joining next week. So, he doesn't want Will Howard to walk into a room where there's not a quarterback coach. So he wants to have the staff in place. And, 2 years ago, there was a time where a bunch of these guys showed up and Greg Studoir had been fired and Justin Fry had not been hired. And so there's literally a 2-day span where some of these high school guys had no idea who their line coach is going to be. So that is not optimal, but I think Ryan has learned from that and he wants these guys to be ready to go as soon as they get into here. Sean Krutka, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Props to you guys breaking the Howard story weeks ago. Appreciate you. Shout out to our sources. Our sources are dynamite, especially in that arena. Never doubted you after Ward talk went nowhere. Howard talking about beating the cheaters up north is refreshing. Yeah, like we had the Ward stuff in December just because, that was the initial kind of ambiance is that he was the new guy, active guy, dual threat guy, better than Kyle McCord. But when Miami got involved, Florida State got involved, and some of his handlers got involved, it didn't go very far, and he ends up declaring for the draft. And then Will Howard became the next target for Ryan Day. And like I said, he met with him in Dallas in mid-December before National Signing Day, and we had that. Nobody else had that. So, I think that Will Howard adds a different dimension to the offense. I think he's a monster, 6'4", or 6'5", 240, runs really well, physical, a breath of fresh air. Has got to be a lead. He'll be a leader just because he's played so much. He's played more football than anybody on the entire offense. So he's not scared of anything. He's won a Big 12 championship, all-time leading, passing touchdowns guy at Kansas State. So he's got credentials. He's not some guy that's coming in off the street, coming from junior college, coming from, 1AA or something. He's coming from a real program, K-State, who's been a playoff contender. They're a top 15 team. They frankly played Missouri better than we did this year. So he's got some credentials. Nevada, your thoughts on Will Howard joining the Buckeyes?
Well, it's just big. It's just been interesting to hear the players' response because when you talk to the players, when you talk to the parents, everybody's excited. I mean, everybody's excited. It's like been a shot of adrenaline to the entire team to have a guy like that. A guy who's got 50 starts or some ridiculous. I mean, there, nothing about him is unknown. Like he has been through it all, seen it all, done it all. Is he going to be perfect? No, of course not. But he gives you a chance. And that's all you want in modern college football. You just want a quarterback that's good enough to give you a chance to win the game with your talent. And he's a guy that can do it. He'll get the most out of every play. He'll run for first downs. He'll fight. He's a fiery guy. And I don't think we've really had that from the quarterback position in a while. We haven't, when you talk back to like JT Barrett, or you talk, and Justin Fields was tough, as we talked about earlier today, or Troy Smith. But CJ was a little quiet. Kyle's a little quiet. Will's not that way. Will's an alpha, and I think we need an alpha, and so I'm excited to have him.
Totally agree. Cordero Jackson, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Crazy Days legacy would have been different if 3 plays went the other way. Kick versus Georgia, the pick 6 versus the team of North, and McCord's last throw, OH. I totally agree. I mean, it's a game of inches, and again, they never should send Noah Ruggles out there for that Georgia kick. They should have tried to get a little closer or throw it at the end zone, because with Noah, he'd never hit a kick from 47 before in his career. So, it's like, if you want me to go out and drive a par 5 from the tee box, like, good luck, So, I mean, that's kind of what it was. And they put him out there, and he tried to come out of his shoes to hit it, and he missed it, in a very terrible manner. So I think that you have to, fault the coaches, fault Parker Fleming and Ryan Day for that, because that kid never should have been out there for a field goal that long that he's ever hit before. But this is football. The pick 6. I mean, McCord's, so it's like, with guys like Trust and Urban, like if Urban converts on 2013 versus Michigan State on when Hireman misses the block and they run Braxton, like, who knows? If Ted Ginn doesn't break his leg versus Florida and we beat the Florida Gators, who knows? I mean, that's part of the game. But your thoughts, Nevada? Ryan Day's legacy, again, 2-3 plays away from being pretty stellar. Because if we beat Georgia, then we draw TCU. I think we run through those guys with how talented we were. But your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, this is why I always caution people about drawing, broad conclusions off of small sample sizes or off like one play. I mean, one play, as you said, we make the kick, we win. We miss the kick, we lose. And that's why I'm so completely of the belief that we're close, that we're really, really close, that we could very well be talking about back-to-back national championships, and instead people are questioning the entire trajectory of the program, and I think that's just wrong. I think when you take a step back and look at the big picture, we're elite, we're well positioned, and that's why I'm all in on Ryan Day to figure this thing out. I love the fact that we've got a 44-year-old head coach who could be here for a while, and is an expert in coaching the most important position on the field in the quarterback. So no, we're close. We've been close. And sometimes you got to knock on the door a little bit before you kick it in. And I think we're getting ready to kick it in.
I agree. Emmanuel Gardner, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you, brother. I hope you have a great weekend. There's a lot of confusion on CJ Hicks. Seems like he's another Baron Browning where the defenses know how to use him. What is the best way to use him in the defense? Go Bucks. Well, he played in the bowl game, and he really didn't make any splash plays, and he really didn't make any plays. I think that, CJ, if he wants to be good, if he wants to play, has to play in the confines of Jim Knowles' defense. And I think that's something that is hard for him, because in high school, he was a big freelancer. He was a guy that was kind of all over the place and made a lot of big plays, made a lot of splash plays. But in this defense, you can't do that. You have to do what Jim Knowles wants you to do. You have to fit the gaps he wants you to fit. And sometimes he gets a little loose with that. And that's what keeps him glued to the bench. Because if you want to do something other than what Jim Knowles' defense is designing for you to do, then you're going to be standing next to Jim Knowles watching the game, holding a Gatorade, and not getting any statistics. So I think that CJ has to learn how to play in the confines of the defense, because if you do that, it'll turn you into an All-American like it did Tommy Eichenberg and Steele Chambers, who is probably an all Big Ten-ish type guy. But he really has to lock in and do what Jim Knowles wants him to do. And I think that he's got ability, but he has to humble himself and do what Jim Knowles wants him to do. Your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, I mean, he looks a little lost out there right now. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he looks a little lost out there. And, I think sometimes it takes a little bit longer for guys to have things click and things for them to kind of understand what they can do. Because when you watch, again, I watched him play a lot of football. I watched him play a lot of real football with pads. I've seen him play a lot of 7-on-7 football. I mean, he's an extremely athletic kid. but he doesn't look athletic and he doesn't play athletic out there. And I think he's just struggling to kind of understand this. The system is complex, and the middle linebacker's got a lot of different reads and a lot of different responsibilities and things that he's got to do. And I think once he can get to the point where he's not thinking and it's less mechanical, he'll look more natural out there. He'll be more impactful. And sometimes it just takes time. And hopefully this is the off season where it all comes together.
Totally agree. B-Wet, thanks for the 10. Appreciate you. What is the latest on the Michigan cheating? You seem to be the only guy saying the hammer's coming down. Most are saying it's pretty much sovereignty. March is coming down, dude. Like, the NCAA is very thorough. They're very slow. They're like an iceberg. They don't move very fast. But when they hit, it's not fun. Ask the Titanic. But Nevada, your thoughts on Michigan's potential sanctions and penalties coming?
Well, who's saying that it's not going to be? That's what I don't
Just,
understand. Like,
just people that are dumb, people on the beat
yeah,
that
it's just
don't know
like
anything, people that don't have any sources, people that are they're Michigan fanboys, whatever, or people on our beat that don't know
yeah.
anything.
No, because it's look. There's a process. They're going through the process. They're compiling all the information. All you got to do, and I've said this many times, go back and read the letter from Tony Petitti to Michigan that quotes the NCAA in there, and compare that to what happened with Tennessee this year, where Tennessee got a 6-year show cause for their coach. They got scholarship reductions. They got vacated wins. They got 5 years of probation. That was all for a failure to monitor. This is a 2 level 1s lack of institutional control, cheating to gain on-field advantage over multiple seasons. So I don't know what to tell you. Like, nobody can say what the NCAA is ultimately going to do, because the NCAA is going to do what they're going to do. But the idea that somehow anything has happened that has lessened the probability of this hammer coming down, the exact opposite is the case. It's 180 degrees different than that particular point of view.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jim Douchley or Duchel, I appreciate you, my man. Thank you for the 10. What do you think is Brian's reaction to going to be when they bring in a new OC? And does Philbin get any play for that job? I don't think Joe Philbin is in play for any job in the Woody Hayes, not any full-time job. I don't think he's a major recruiter. Doesn't have major ties to any of the areas. He was at Iowa, but I don't think he can recruit the South the way we need him to. So I don't think he's in play for any jobs. I think Brian's going to be happy to keep his job, especially when some of these guys are going to be packing up their offices. And Brian's making $1.5 million, $1.8 million, $2 million with incentives, whatever, to be an OC that doesn't have to call plays. He's basically a wide receivers coach who's the highest paid wide receivers coach in the country. So I think he should enjoy that. I don't think that his group was great this year. And again, I'm not trying to bag on Brian, but like Marvin won the Biletnikoff, which I know that's rare error, but I've watched those guys play and they left a lot of meat on the bone. I mean, I watched the film, and if anyone wants to argue with me, we can sit down and watch the tape together. So I think Brian will be happy to be so employed when a bunch of these guys are no longer employed. But yeah, I mean, I don't think Joe Feldman is a candidate for any of the jobs that are available at Ohio State. Brian Legree, thanks for the deuce. Days punting on 4th and 2 versus Bama, like a softie. I don't think we've played Bama this year, but maybe at Michigan on 4th and 2. But again, I would not punt on 4th and 2 if I was Ryan Day. I'd be like Sharon Moore and go for it. Jamie Coburn, thank you for the 5. Did you used to wrestle? Never. Just asking because you're supporting OC Wrestling. I'm going there because I have a bunch of friends that are major donors that invited me to the match, and I'm excited to go see it. Never been to a wrestling match before. My high school was a dominant wrestling school for a public school on Maslin Perry. I think we came in second like every year to St. Ed's in the Division I finals, but I've never been. I'm excited to see it. I got invited by some of the biggest donors at Ohio State. They want me to sit with them, so I'll be sitting match side in my Buckeye script gear. So if you guys see me, make sure you throw tomatoes at your TV tonight because it is going to be on Big Ten Network, so I'm super excited about that. David Furness, thank you for the 21st time super chat. Love the show. As a recently retired 37-year military corps vet, dude, hoorah. That is super, super amazing. Appreciate you, my man. Love your support of the military. We love the military on here. father-in-law is a Navy guy. Nevada Buck's dad was an Air Force colonel. So again, a lot of military love on Buckeye Scoop. Unlike a lot of the sites, we like to support our military, support the cops. There's certain branches that we believe strongly in, and we're not scared to voice it because we're the owners. So that's what we do. Did you have any names for an O-line coach? I feel that is really the most help. I don't. Again, it's easy for me to spin my wheels and lie to you guys and act like I know a bunch of the names, but once they hire an offensive coordinator, I think it would come a lot more clear because you could look at his coaching tree and his background to figure out who he potentially might hire if he does not believe in what Justin Fry does. So again, I think it really depends on who the OC is. So I'm not going to spin your wheels and go through with that. Charles Leonard, thank you for the 5. And also thank you for the 5. So thank you for the 10. Charles Leonard had back to back. So if you have a question, throw that in the chat. Wakes up 5. Rivals posted a video of Edric Houston absolutely bodying. You said boating, but I'm going to say botting. So I think you mean botting. And O-line guy, do you think he will get playing time right away? I think he has to. And I think that poor O-lineman needs to learn how to use his hands and not let Edric right into his chest. But I think he's going to be, in our top 3 to 4, depending on what JT does. I think there's a good chance JT comes back. But I think, Kenyatta Jackson's clearly our number 3. Caden Curry's kind of all over the place. But Edric could easily be our 3 or 4, depending on what JT does. Your thoughts on Edric Houston, Nevada?
Well, I mean, I've said that he was the guy that I wanted the most in the class, even more than JJ Smith. And I know that's sacrilegious, but I just feel like guys like that, we have a lot of great wide receivers. And again, I know JJ Smith is a Marmaduke, and I know he's Julio Jones and Marvin Harrison and Calvin Johnson rolled into one body. But I love Edric Houston a lot. I was so excited when we got him. And you got to play these guys. You got to play them early. There's so many reasons for that. There's development. There's keeping them from transferring. And I think that's one thing. If we talk about trying to have constructive criticisms of Ryan Day. I just don't. I know he has given the directive to shorten the bench in these big games, and he has not been good about getting backups in the game, specifically, obviously the quarterback position, but in it up and down the line, throughout the team. And I just think that's been to our detriment, and I think that's a mistake. So a guy like Houston's got to see the field right away, and I'm confident that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think Edric's going to be a major factor next year. I think you got to get these ends off the field a little bit more, get Jack and JT off, give him a little bit of rest. So I'm super excited to see what he can do next year because he's ready-made to start. Brian LeGree, thanks for the deuce. The NCAA won't even be around to do anything. I think you overestimate how slowly everything goes in college football, but I think they'll definitely be around. They're investigating Michigan. I think it's going to be pretty much a slam dunk case. So yeah. Well, Nevada, you can wrap this thing up. I got to head to this wrestling match. Any final thoughts? Again, Jack Sawyer's back. There's a lot of these 21 guys that are in a group texting each other, persuading each other to come back. I think our defense is going to be absolutely disgusting next year, but I'd love your thoughts on that, and we will wrap this thing up.
Yeah, no, I think the Buckeyes are poised for a big 2024, and I would expect you're going to see these guys have spaced out these announcements, so you're going to see this stuff coming every 24, every 48 hours. Another guy jumping on the boat, another guy jumping the boat. So not too late to jump on the Day Express along with the Knowles Express. We've got the 2 expresses heading down the tracks, heading towards 2024, and don't forget Monday, big watch party.
Yes.
Cheer on Washington to defeat Michigan. We'll bring Tinkerbuck back to life that day.
Yes.
And we'll all root for Penix to win. And we'll celebrate together when they defeat the Wolverines.
And we got one final super chat. This is a great question. Eric Peterson, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, brother. Hope you have a great weekend. Any chance Coach Tressel ever comes back into the fold in some kind of spot at OSU, AD, president, football operations? Miss that guy, great coach. I don't think so. I think that he's made a fortune. I don't think he wants to work as anything. He's already done the president thing at Youngstown State, and that was very draining and tough. Operations, there's no way they could afford him. AD, I don't think he wants to deal with the hassle of 36 sports. So I would be beyond stunned. And Jim Tressel, it's funny, like I got Christmas cards from Jim Trussell and from Urban Meyer. So, I've got guys that really appreciate me and I talk to profusely and I get their advice on everything and state of the program. So I get a lot of good insight from those guys. And I can't see Jim Tressel coming back in any role at Ohio State. I wish, now again, if I was a genie in a bottle and I could make him the AD, I'd do it. If I could make him the president, I'd do it. But I just think that, he's getting up there. Trust isn't he's not a spring chicken anymore. And, being an AD is a tough job, and being, the president is a very tough job at Ohio State. It's exceptionally tough because you're fighting with the hospital systems and the athletics and history department and the business department. I mean, there's 25 different silos that want to kill you for money, and deal with the politics of that. So it's a very difficult job, and I don't see him coming back for any of it. Just because he's made his money, he deserves to relax and enjoy his life going forward. So that's my opinion, and I could be, if I'm dead wrong, you guys can come point your fingers in my face and say, Kirk, you're an idiot. Jim Tressel's our new AD. I just can't see it happening. Nevada, do you refute anything that I just said?
No, it's as great as it would be, and it would be absolutely fabulous. Yeah, that those jobs are just so like you used the word draining, and that's exactly right. I just can't
Yep.
imagine Jim throwing himself back into that again. As great as that would be.
It would be amazing. So, well, we'll wrap this thing up. We appreciate you guys as always. A little shorter show tonight because I'm heading to the wrestling match, but tune in. Big Ten Network, support the wrestling program. Again, appreciate you guys as always. Thank you for your super chats. Those goes straight to our military Pay It Forward Foundation. We've had a lot of great success. We've added a lot of new members that are people that are serving abroad. So thank you for all that. If you guys have any candidates to nominate, send them to buckeyescoop@gmail.com and we will look through it and verify it. So we appreciate you guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Shout out where you guys are watching from. Shout out who are you most excited about returning? So Jack Sawyer. And you can throw the transfer portal guys in there. There's Will Howard. Who you most excited to watch next year? Put that down in the comments. Again, your comments are huge for us. Leave us a like, click subscribe. Also click that little alert bell. Those are all huge for this channel. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. Thank you, Skip family. It's time to go watch these wrestling bucks go get after these guys a little bit. Excited to see it. You guys have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks.